Hello, I'm your superhero critic. I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome. A couple years ago, Marvel and Sony finally coexisted in one film by allowing Spider-Man to have a solo cameo within Captain America Civil War. That being said, now that he's in the Marvel Universe, of course he would eventually get his own solo film. So today we are going to take a look at one of my personal favorite Spider-Man films, Spider-Man: HomeComing. We begin with Toomes and his company digging up the destruction from the Avengers film until the government-owned damage control comes in and takes control despite everyone needing their jobs. Toomes does not take it too well.
Next time, don't overextend yourself.
What'd you say? Yeah. He's right. I overextended myself.
That was a perfectly formed punch. I give it a 10 out of 10. Toomes and his men are seen deciding to keep the truck of tech they didn't turn in as we jump to 8 years later and we see the Vulture's current successful business. After the logos, Parker is shown doing a vlog of the events leading up to his scene in Civil War, from the plane to tormenting Happy to his excitement to being involved with everything.
It was the most amazing thing that's ever happened. So Mrs. Rogue was like, "Hey, Underoos," and I just sort of flipped in, and I stole Cap's shield, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, everybody?" And then,
"Hey, just a second, coming."
Hey.
We have thin walls here.
Okay, so I want to take the time to explain to everybody why I personally feel Tom Holland is Spider-Man. Alright, Tobey Maguire did a great job as Peter, but his Spider-Man was flat. Andrew Garfield was a great Spider-Man, but his Peter Parker was flat. Tom Holland is both. You feel the nerdiness in his Peter, and you feel the cockiness in his Spider-Man. I'm sorry, but in my personal opinion, Tom Holland is Spider-Man. That being said, I don't care if you disagree with me, because it's my show, and I'm voicing my opinion, and I love you all anyway. As Tony drops Peter off, we go to 2 months later, and Parker has yet to hear back from Stark or Happy, and in school, Peter becomes one with the school as we get a montage of Peter's school life, meeting Ned Leeds, his crush on Liz Allen, and outsmarting Flash Thompson, even though he was watching himself on YouTube.
Mass cancels out, so it's just gravity times sine.
Right. See, Flash, being the fastest isn't always the best if you are wrong.
The montage continues with Peter practicing his webbing and Pete creepily staring at Liz. Pete announces that he is dropping from the decathlon, which of course everyone has an issue with, while Flash does not believe he is even in the Stark internship.
I got a hot date with Black Widow coming up.
That is false.
What did I tell you about using the bell for comedic purposes?
That's right, only I could use the bell for comedic reasons. I don't have one, but only I could do it. After school, Peter heads to a sandwich place for an after-lunch special and a banter between the owner over their aunt and daughter. He heads to the alley and we see something that not a lot of films do, and that's the costume change, which is kind of clumsy like it should be, and Peter's over-eagerness is shown. Again, and this is why I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He acts like a teenager would getting those powers. He's just not some cut and dry cliche of what adults think teenagers act like. Now we get another montage of Spidey saving the day from stopping a bike thief, backflipping for a fan, helping a lady out, and thinking someone's a car thief even though they aren't. After our montage, Spidey calls Happy to let him know that he feels he could and should be doing more than he has been doing. But things change once Spidey notices a bank being robbed by thieves dressed like the Avengers.
Whoa, you're the Avengers! What are you guys doing here? Thor, Hulk, good to finally meet you guys.
Oh, you'd be more handsome in person. Iron Man! Hey, what are you doing robbing a bank? You're a billionaire.
And of course, like usual, there's no Hawkeye to be seen. Spidey seems to be handling things well until one of the thugs brings out a weapon that destroys the deli across the street, but he quickly saves the owner's life, letting the robbers get away. Spidey tries to call Happy to tell him what's going on, but Happy won't let him explain things clearly, not caring about the small stuff. Peter heads home and gets an uninvited guest. Hey look, he destroyed the Death Star just as easily as Luke did. Twice. Ned cannot wrap his head around the fact that his best friend is a superhero and Pete does everything he can to get him to keep it a secret. At dinner, Aunt May questions why Pete is closed off, and we go to another montage. This time, Ned asking question after question, and once Liz blurts out that she has a crush on Spidey, Ned blurts out everything.
Peter knows Spider-Man.
That's it, Ned. You're grounded. Pete, of course, acts like Ned is crazy, and the two get invited to a party if they can bring Spidey to the party, which, of course, never happens because instead he ends up chasing a huge blue light that he sees. I've always wondered what happens when he has nothing to swing on. Now I know. The light ends up being from the alien weapons being tested and sold, which he interrupts and begins a chase around the city, refusing to let the van get away while destroying people's property. But he eventually lets them get away as the Vulture swoops in and grabs him through the air, dropping him from a high height into the bay, only for him to be saved by Iron Man at the last second. Stark does the typical "I told you not to do the thing, but you did the thing anyway" speech, ignoring everything what Spidey says anyway.
Can't you just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
He said it! He said it!
On Pete's way back, he finds some alien tech, and at the Vulture's lair, we see a very pissed off Vulture as he lectures one of his men about staying under the radar. But when he basically says to screw off, Toombs decides to end his life anyway.
You're right. They work. I don't know. I can't afford that.
I want one of those. Toombs gives a different guy the shocker gauntlet, and it's back to the school as Pete and Ned try to figure out what the device is before Shocker and a partner show up at the school. Pete puts a tracker on them, which they figure out is headed to Maryland, so Peter rejoins the academy in order to get to DC. Once in DC, the two of them remove Peter's own tracker from his suit, as well as the training wheels protocol.
Training wheels.
This kid treating me like a kid all the time. It's not cool.
But you are a kid.
Yeah, a kid who can stop a bus with his bare hands.
Pete heads out only to be stopped by Liz, but he does not let hormones stop him from being a hero as he travels to the area where Tomb's men are waiting. The Vulture lands to steal what they came from, and our hero steps in but screws up in the process. Spidey wakes up in the container and breaks it down to see that he is in the damage control vault, and there's a montage of our hero not knowing what to do to break out, finding out that the item that Ned is holding is actually a bomb. Once he finally makes it free, he heads back to the decathlon, and the bomb goes off inside the Washington Monument. Spidey is quick to scale the monument and to try to break the window, but needs more momentum. The police show up and try to stop him from doing what he's doing, but ends up doing something epic. Okay, Spidey, I'll give it to you. That was epic. Keep doing stuff like that. Spidey ends up saving the elevator from crashing multiple times and does what he should have done with Gwen and saves Liz's life.
You're okay. You're okay.
The Tinkerer suggests he works on the high altitude filter, but Toombs is pissed off, of course, and is determined to finding the web slinger to kill him. Meanwhile, Spider-Mania is sweeping the school, but Pete gets the attention and doesn't have time for it as his suit figures out who the thugs were and goes to interrogate one of them, played by Donald Glover. Glover at first plays the thug, but then reveals he has better morals. Okay, so for those who are not inclined with the Marvel Universe, Donald Glover's character, if you look it up, is actually Miles Morales' uncle, known as the Prowler. So, I'm hoping in the future we see Donald Glover become the vigilante he was born to be. Now back to the review. Spider-Man heads to the ferry that Glover tells him about, and we see our villains are indeed there, with future Scorpion Matt Gargan, and everyone else is all in one place as our hero ignores Tony and takes the goons down. For some reason, the FBI show up, but as does the Vulture, who eventually loses his gun, which once is taken away, implodes, splitting the ferry in half. Our hero quickly jumps into action, struggling to web the boat back together, but of course it's Iron Man that swoops in to save the day.
Hi, Spider-Man. Band practice, was it?
Come on, Spidey, how you gonna let Tony Stark steal your thunder? Punch him in the gooch. Our heroes argue over everything, and we see that Stark has been helping out behind his back anyway and takes away the suit, saying that if he needs the suit to be a hero, then he doesn't need the suit at all, reminiscing of his actions within Iron Man 3. We see Peter going through a small depression as he tells May about losing the internship and luckily does not get expelled. After the depressing montage, Pete runs into Liz, actually getting the girl as he asks her to the dance. Pete goes to pick up Liz, and of course, plot convenience would have it that Toombs is now Liz's father, even though they have no relations in any comic form to my knowledge. But as they get to the dance, Toombs asks question and is quick to figure out Spidey's secret identity is sitting in his car. He warns him to stay away from Liz and to stay out of his business. Our hero, of course, decides to not stay out of his business as he ditches Liz at the dance and ends up meeting the Shocker in the school parking lot. The Shocker traps Spidey inside a bus, and the day is saved by the most unexpected person. Spidey snags Flash's car while Ned helps track down the Vulture, leading him into the warehouse of Toomes, and we get a speech from Toomes talking about his hatred for Stark and all the rich tycoons that have stepped on him and others like him. Vulture then pulls a goblin move as he sends the flight suit to attack Spidey from behind, sending it around the room to collapse the building on top of our hero. Our hero is of course frantic as hell and does not know how to get out of his situation, but he eventually gathers up the strength and heroism to bust out of his situation, reminiscent of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 33. Impressive, very impressive. But Hulk's still strongest. The Vulture begins his hijacking of the Avengers plane with Spidey hot on his trail, which of course pisses off our villain as the two begin fighting each other in the sky, destroying the plane in the process, making it head towards the city. Our final fight begins with an air attack from the Vulture, and the fight goes back and forth, showcasing each of their talents. Vulture almost has Spidey numbered, but decides his loot is more important. As he turns to get away, Spidey notices that his pack is about to explode, which of course he does not listen to. And Vulture has officially become the exploding angry bird. Spidey is quick to pull Toomes out of the wreckage, wrapping him up for Happy to find. Our movie wraps up with Liz telling Pete she's moving to Oregon and basically telling her to leave her alone. Zendaya's Michelle becomes the new team captain. Happy picks Peter up and brings him to the new Avengers headquarters, where Stark thanks him for sticking to his gun and offers him a new Spidey suit and a spot on the Avengers, but Peter turns it down to stay closer to the neighborhood. When Pete gets back the original suit in a bag waiting for him, the movie ends with a few words from Aunt May. That was Spider-Man Homecoming, and I honestly don't know why so many people think the movie was bad. I, for one, enjoyed every second of it, and it actually feels like a Spider-Man film, unlike Garfield's atrocities. That being said, join me next week as we continue our Power Ranger year, as I dive into the Power Ranger Zeo one-shot comic, and see whether or not it's worth morphing into. I'm your superhero critic, and I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome.